Welcome to the Friday vlog.
Welcome to the Friday vlog.
And today we thought we would talk about a subject we haven't talked about recently, parenting teenagers, or teenagers and young adults.
Okay.
And often one of the themes that comes up in parenting as our children make that transition from children to tweens to teens is that they can get moody.
Kind of like the werewolf in the full moon. They transform
Yes.
into another creature.
Yes. And it can be disconcerting. I know that we got a little disconcerted when we started to see some of that moodiness.
That would be a euphemism in no uncertain terms, as far as I'm concerned.
What word would you use?
Horrified.
And it is kind of shocking, especially when you have really lighthearted children that aren't thinking about themselves and just don't have a care in the world. And then all of a sudden they have a lot on their mind and their mood drops as a result of that. It can be, I don't know, I would probably say disconcerting.
Okay.
And for me, it brought up a lot of insecure thinking about my parenting. So I guess one of the ways you could say it is I took it personally.
Yeah, well, I think it's all about taking it personally. I think that for me, what I noticed for myself, at some point I had an insight about how I was showing up with them, which was in a place of significant judgment. So I really judged their state of mind and their low mood. In my innocence, I just saw that as a problem and really asked myself the question, why would you want to live like that and operate in that way in the culture of our family? Why would you spoil the atmosphere? And so I think that all I was doing was perpetuating that low mood atmosphere because I was showing up in a mindset of judgment.
Well, you were in your own low mood.
I was actually making them responsible for corrupting my own well-being.
Yes.
And I took that personally. And I think that the quantum shift for me was to see the psychological innocence and purposefully not really show up in a place of judgment anymore. And it was amazing, the turnaround within the family culture based on me just looking at the whole situation through a completely different set of optics.
Absolutely. So it's understandable that insecurities as a parent will come up and questions about what am I doing wrong or what can I do to help. And I think from my end, what I've realized with a little bit of hindsight, and I'm not saying that we're out of the woods in this journey. We still have 2 young adult daughters living at home. But one of the things that I realized is that in my taking it personally, I would get caught up in my insecure thinking, and then I would inadvertently be putting pressure on them to be different. I wouldn't be meaning to do that, but because I felt like something was wrong, then that would amplify their feelings about themselves as having something wrong with them. And so for me to find that peace of mind within myself, what was really helpful was recognizing that they have their resilience within themselves and that their low moods, moodiness, anger, unhappiness, all of that is a reflection of how much they have on their mind, and that it's not my job to take off what's on their mind. I thought that as a parent that was my responsibility to get their minds to lighten up so that they could feel happy, and that just feels claustrophobic and it just doesn't feel good to them. And I've had that direct feedback. And so what I see now, and if I was, as part of the learning curve, and what I would do differently is I would really look at stabilizing myself first in the face of their suffering, and recognizing that my confidence in their ability to stabilize, my willingness to trust their innate wisdom was guiding them, even though they're having a challenging time, that they still have that. I think that is the biggest gift that I could give them, and what I wish that I could have sort of focused on more earlier.
Yeah, I think that's huge, because I think that for me to show up with a mindset where rather than consider them being this person who's upsetting the culture of the family with their low mood, I'm actually now looking at their suffering in their state of mind, and how I have the confidence that they will they will come back into balance at some point. And I think that sets up a culture that's so much healthier for everybody, and particularly for them, because I'm actually showing them that I'm confident that they will stabilize. This is just a momentary blip on the horizon. It's a momentary black cloud that will pass by, and the sun will, that sunny face will be revealed again. And I think that if I can show up in that mindset, I'm just showing up from a place of love and compassion, and the compassion is the secret sauce. It doesn't really matter what relationships we're talking about here. If we can show up from that mindset, see the psychological innocence, because this person is just dealing with that momentary black cloud. They're suffering in their thinking. I don't have to take that personally. I just have to trust that they will come back into balance. But more importantly, I think if I have that understanding, that I'm having compassion for their experience and I'm not judging them. And the judging is just me throwing oxygen at that fire.
Yeah.
It's making a bad situation 10 times worse, and it will be kind of one of those vicious circles that will just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. And actually, you could also recognize that it's a compliment if your teenager is showing their authentic self and their low mood to you, because that was one of the other things that I would rack my brain around, because I would see our girls be so happy around their friends and just the light and soul of their friendship circle, and then they come home and be like, mm. And what I realized is that it takes a lot of energy to keep that up all day long. And so to give them the space to just let that all go and just be able to be themselves wherever they're at, and that they have the safety and the ability to do that, you can see that that's their feelings of safety within the household and their feelings of safety within the family culture. So it's actually a huge compliment whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, really what we're talking about is loving them unconditionally.
Yeah.
And that their mood doesn't have to be a measure of how we love them, which is kind of, I'm sure, how they view it in that moment. It's kind of like, oh, they've withdrawn their love because I'm in a mood. How does that help their low mood other than really exacerbate it?
Yeah.
And I feel like it felt so counterintuitive at first to sort of not want to try to manage that mood for them and pull them out of it. And now all I get to do is just take my hands off the wheel and kind of demonstrate to them that I trust that they will come back into balance.
Yeah.
And that's for me, just to love them as they are. And I spent so much of my life not loving them for what they are, in a way where in the moment I just got caught up in my judgment, and they got to be on the receiving end of that, and that must have been so distressing for them. That's the last thing that I would want as a parent, is for them to be distressed by my judgment.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have a relationship with them that they feel safe in and held, and that for me has been the turning point, is to see how they're doing the best that they can, and they'll figure it out for themselves. And who am I to interfere with their journey in life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we all have those moments where we realize that there was an opportunity for us to be more loving and kind in our parenting, and it's important to have that self-compassion as well. We're all doing the best that we can.
Yeah.
And we all are on this crazy human journey of experience with the highs and lows of our psychology. So we hope this is helpful. If you have teens, or even if you don't have teens, you probably have people in your life that get into low moods.
That's true. We're all going to get into low moods
That's
from time
right.
to time.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.